Okay, our Strats are here to defend the party positions as best they can. Joining me from Toronto is Amanda Alvaro of Narrative Advocacy Media with links to the Liberals. And here in the studio is Conservative warhorse Walter Robinson of Tactics Government Relations. Welcome to you both. I'm going to you first, Amanda. Is kicking a couple kids out of a Conservative event a big deal? I mean, you know, it's sort of standard front-rider procedure, is it not?
It's a huge deal. Mr. Harper is treating this election like a giant personal inconvenience. He's restricting the media, he's restricting access from Canadians, and now he's actually kicking people out of rallies because they disagree with his views. Since when is democracy out of touch with Canadians in the sense that you have to ask Canadians, listen, if you're not in tune with my politics, with my point of view, then you're ousted from the dialogue. This is what we're getting from Harper, it's what we're getting from the Conservative Party, and it certainly has been the tone of this election campaign so far.
Well, Walter, is your guy
on the panel with Amanda? I see where she's coming from.
Is your guy un-Canadian, according to Michael Ignatieff?
Well, I don't think anybody should be calling anyone un-Canadian in this election campaign, and let's leave it at that. It's unfortunate that this happened, and I think that the Director of Communications for the Prime Minister, Mr. Sudas, has apologized to those two people and invited them to call him to see if they could meet with Mr. Harper. It's an unfortunate incident. These things happen on campaigns when unfortunately, when local people are in charge of security for events such as these sorts of things. I can tell you, though, I've been to local events here in Ottawa, and people are more than welcome to attend a variety of different functions because I've witnessed various parties, and they welcome people, and sometimes you get heckled and sometimes you don't, and that's democracy.
Amanda, I want to go back to you because is this an issue if you were advising Mr. Ignatieff that you'd keep harping on and hammering on, or do you think this is going to quickly blow over?
No, this is indicative of the entire campaign that the Conservative Party has been running since day one. Background checks on the very people whose votes you're trying to solicit is the antithesis of democracy, and it's exactly the kind of politics that we're seeing from the Conservative Party since the start of the campaign. They should be going after this day in and day out, highlighting to Canadians that the closed-door politics that we saw in government over the last 5 years, the micromanaging government of Stephen Harper, is the exact same thing that we'll find to a larger scale in a Harper majority.
Well, I see Amanda's been reading Michael's speeches in the Liberal War Room talking points. I think that's great. But if they're going to continue to harp on this, let's harp on the fact that Michael Ignatieff in his platform launch didn't talk about the cost for HST harmonization, didn't talk about the cost for funding arenas across the country, didn't talk about the costs of the $1 billion retrofit to the Champlain Bridge, or a new Detroit-Windsor corridor, or pharmacare. So if you want to harp on those things, they're just going to do that because there's a whole bunch of things that aren't costed in the Liberal platform that Michael Ignatieff refused to talk about.
I was going to ask you that. You know, I promised you wouldn't get only to beat up. You'd get to, you know, take some shots at Amanda.
Amanda provided that opportunity.
All right.
For me.
Well, you took the shot. Amanda, is your platform not only looks like a carbon copy of the New Democrats, there are some people that think the numbers don't add up. What's your view?
You know what, the platform, it's costed, it's defended, but more than that, it's in line with the values and the priorities of Canadians. We're not talking about fighter jets, we're not talking about jails, or the other talking points, as Walter pointed out. We're talking about the things that really matter to Canadians. How am I going to get my kids through school? How is the sandwich generation going to take care of our elderly and aging parents? Those are Canadian priorities, but we have a tone set from the Conservative Party, which is closed door, no access, you can't get in, rules that apply to you don't apply to us. And finally, we're really looking at the kind of party that's saying, if your views are incompatible with ours, you're out of this dialogue.
You got to admit, though, Walter, the optics are pretty bad on this. Bunch of kids and Facebook photos and that sort of thing.
Oh, it was an unfortunate incident, and they've apologized for it. But if people are going to harp on these sorts of things and not get back to the real issues,
I'll switch.
That's a Liberal strategy, and they'll be judged accordingly on May 2nd for it.
We'll agree you two don't quite agree on this.
That's
but we'll move on. I want to ask quickly about Elizabeth May because she has been tossed officially. Her last chance was taken away from her to be in the debates. We do have a graphic showing a new poll that shows shows Elizabeth May's participation was actually a fairly popular idea amongst Canadians, but evidently not in the court that she was arguing today, because they said they're not going to expedite a ruling, so she's officially out. Do you think this is a loss for the debate, Walter? How do you read it?
I think in a democracy, the broadcast networks made, your bosses and the people of the various networks made their decision of who they invite and who would participate and who would not. In an election campaign, your right to speak does not necessarily guarantee your right to be heard. Ms. May is an effective communicator. She's going to find other venues to get her message out. And the broadcast network regulators, they have made their decision. I think in the future, I think most people would agree that we need to have a better way of determining the debate structure, as opposed to realistically 5 men or women in suits in a room in Toronto. Right. That doesn't serve anyone's interest, but the decision has been made and the debates will move forward.
What do you think, Amanda? Is she going to be missed?
Yeah, I think she will be missed. I mean, the elections are really our opportunity to clash ideas, to talk about competing interests, competing policies, and I think that Ms. May being out of the debate is an example of us not being able to hash out some of those ideas in a constructive forum. I think the bigger question is, why is Mr. Harper refusing to do more than one English language debate? Why won't he go on to a one-on-one debate with Mr. Ignatieff? Again, it's the same closed-door politics that we continue to see from Mr. Harper and the Conservative Party.
That's an excellent question, and the question I would pose to you is, as we understand, that discussion happened within the context of the debates for April 12th and April 14th, and the Conservatives put out and said, yes, we'd love to have a one-on-one exchange with Michael Ignatieff, and your Liberal debate negotiator said, whoa, we're not going to do that. So if you want to go there, let's talk about what actually happened in that discussion.
Okay, well, this debate is not over, so we'll have to call it for the day, Amanda. Thank you from Toronto, Amanda Alvaro and Walter Robinson here in the studios. Good chat.